Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, nice to meet you. And if you're returning, welcome back. It's lovely to see you again. Today we're going to be looking at Summer Night Tour horror stories. So let's jump right into it. Our first story is called The Hitchhiker by Kevin. I was 16 years old and had just got my driver's license. We were cruising down a deserted road when suddenly we saw a girl walking on the side of the road in nothing but her underwear and socks. She had no shirt or shoes, and her hair was wild. Then we noticed that the front door was now open. On the ground outside the door, we saw the girl's underwear and socks. The girl had been reported missing a week earlier. The police had been searching for her ever since, but they had given up hope of finding her alive. When we had picked her up, she had already been dead for several days. There was no electricity or running water, just a small campfire to keep us warm, and some tents to sleep in. Her body had begun to decompose, and the stench must have been so bad that it attracted animals who had torn her clothes off and scattered them around the yard. All around the tent were thousands of little pebbles that were not there the evening before. We drove about 4 hours to get to the campsite. It was secluded, which is what we wanted. We didn't want to be bothered by anyone else. And surrounding the tent in a near-perfect circle were also 20 to 50 pound boulders. They decided to go for a hike in the Beartooth Wilderness in the summer. About halfway through the hike, they realized they were being followed. The three of them walked in silence for about 15 minutes. Then they heard what sounded like screams in the forest. My sister and her ex-boyfriend started freaking out, but the strange man seemed calm and just kept walking. They hoped that maybe they could convince him to get help, but when they got to the clearing where the tent had been, it was gone. They searched for him for a while, but they never found him. As they rounded a bend in the path, they saw a clearing with a fire pit and a tent. The man started talking excitedly about how he lived there and invited them to come check out his awesome tree. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next time. They turned around and saw a man standing there staring at them. The man got really angry and started yelling at them, saying that they had to stay because they weren't safe on the trail at night. They started to walk away, but the man grabbed my sister's arm and pulled her toward the tent. She slapped him, and he let her go. The description of the missing person matched the man they had met on the trail. My sister and her ex-boyfriend still talk about how freaked out they were by that experience. They'll never forget the look on that man's face when he started losing it on the trail. They confronted him and asked him why he was following them, and he said he was lost and wanted to know if they could help him find his way back to the trail. As they ran, they heard the man screaming at them to come back. They never stopped running until they got to their car. They locked themselves in the car and started driving. They agreed and let him for a bit, but he kept stopping and lagging behind. My friends and I noped out of there, making a 5-hour hike into one. I still think about that to this day. Big guttural screams. Obviously, I was freaked out sitting in the tent, not knowing what was out there. Then I heard what sounded like hail for about 30 seconds, followed by heavy footsteps near the tent. We didn't think much of it. Maybe it was an owl or a coyote. All around the car were thousands of little pebbles that were not there the evening before. And surrounding the car in a near-perfect circle were also 20 to 50 pound boulders. My boyfriend and I noped out of there, making a 5-hour drive into one. I still think about that to this day. What do? You try to go back to sleep. But then we heard heavy footsteps near our car. My boyfriend and I started yelling and making tons of noise. The commotion outside the car slowly came to a halt. My friends and I started yelling and making tons of noise, and the commotion outside the tent slowly came to a halt. We had unknowingly brought a dead body home with us and left it in our car. We were sickened and horrified, but we knew that we had to tell the police what we had seen. He got really upset and started swearing at them, then took off his backpack, threw it on the ground, and threw himself on the ground. He started crying and begging for them to help him and saying that he was on drugs and needed to get out of there. My sister and her ex-boyfriend kept telling him to get up and leave, but he refused. They were the exact same ones that she had been wearing when she hitched a ride with us. We ran away as fast as we could. We decided to investigate and walked up to the door together. We knocked and called out, but no one answered. They thanked us for helping them to find her, but we couldn't accept their gratitude. We knew that we had only made things worse by bringing her home with us. To this day, I still wonder what her plans were and why she had been wandering around in the middle of the night. We tried to open the door, but it was locked. She then stood up and stared at us for a moment longer, then turned and disappeared into the bushes. I remember distinctly thinking, "Thank God that's over." Then we continued on our way home. My friends and I yelled out to her, rolled down our windows, and asked if she wanted a ride. She instantly accepted and quickly got into the car. We were confused because we had passed this street earlier in the evening, and we knew that we weren't on it yet. We kept driving until we saw a house that looked familiar. We turned into the driveway and realized that we were back at the girl's house. We were shocked and immediately stopped the car. I was so excited to take my friends out for a joyride. We decided to go to this all-night diner about 20 minutes away from our town. We piled into my best friend's older brother's car with 2 other friends of ours. One of them had recently gotten his license too, but he wasn't driving. On the way there, everything was fine. We were blasting music, eating snacks and laughing. But on the way home, things took a turn. She told us that she had been hitchhiking for quite some time, and she also said that she didn't know where she was or how she got there. She looked pretty scared, so we decided to take her home. We drove past several houses before we found one that she recognized. We pulled up to the curb and she thanked us profusely and started to get out of the car. Suddenly, she turned around and looked at us with bloodshot eyes. She began to scream at us, cursing and saying that we had ruined her plans. We were horrified and instantly apologized, saying that we hadn't meant to disturb her. She ran out of the car and threw herself onto the lawn. About 5 minutes later, we turned down a street where every single house looked the same. We all started yelling at each other, trying to figure out what had happened. Then we saw something that made our blood run cold. It was only when we got home that we learned the truth about what had happened. When the police arrived, they were able to identify the body as the missing girl. Our next story is called Night Terror. I was camping with some friends in a remote location deep in the woods. In the middle of the night, I was awoken in my tent to what sounded like screams in the forest. In the morning after, of course, not sleeping at all, we unzipped the tent to the creepiest scene. Our next story is called Car Camping Horror. I went car camping with my boyfriend and a couple of his friends. Around midnight, we were awoken in our car to what sounded like screams in the forest. In the morning after, of course, not sleeping at all, we unzipped the car to the creepiest scene. Our next story is called Never Hike Alone. This happened to my sister and her ex-boyfriend a few years ago. After about half an hour, they stopped and told him they needed to keep going, and he would just have to find his own way. As it started getting dark, they finally convinced him to get up and start walking. My sister and her ex-boyfriend politely declined, saying that they needed to get home. They turned and started running. The next morning, they went back to the trailhead to see if they could find the man. That same weekend, the news reported a missing person in that same area. Thanks for watching.